Oh man, that went fast. I think there was a little bit of buildup of pressure. My goodness, I don't know if you guys could have seen that, but it just exploded. Redneck plumbing with the Modern Yeoman. I think it's a success. Oh my gosh, look at this thing. Wow. Do I win like a 4-H award for this or something? If there's one thing that I don't think is stressed very often when people are talking about getting into this life, that's what it is. You've got to... Whew. Hi there, folks. I'm Sean the Modern Yeoman, and welcome to another Work With Me Wednesday episode of the Modern Yeoman, where there's no music, there's no fancy editing, it's just you and me getting stuff done here on the homestead. A little bit of chatting while we do so. I woke up this morning, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I was a little bit under the weather. Ever since last night, actually, I've had, when you start feeling like a little nodule in your throat of pain and it kind of blossoms out during the night and starts to feel a little bit worse. I had that last night, and I pounded the fire cider and some elderberry and some other things, and nothing seemed to stop the sickness from encroaching. And this morning I woke up, I was very stuffy and coughing, and I was thinking about it before I set up the video and sat down here to talk with you guys. Who doesn't care if I've got a case of the sniffles? The chickens don't care. The barn doesn't care. The garden doesn't care. The house doesn't care. The homestead at large does not care if I'm sick. And that led me to some thoughts about some things they don't tell you when you get into the homesteading game, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But the point is this: I still have a lot of work to do. There's no one else to do it. I need to go get it done. And so I'd love it if you guys were able to join me while I get that stuff done. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, grab your own favorite hot beverage and let's get to work. So perhaps you're curious what I'm doing here. Well, this outdoor sink will be our primary washing station for when we slaughter the meat chickens here in a few weeks. And I'm just getting the main plumbing line in, connected to a hose, but you might be wondering why I've got this kind of Y coupler here with a switch on and off. So the main hose obviously goes to our main water line, and one of these hoses, this splits off. One of these hoses is going to go here to the sink, and the other hose is going to go to the plucker, which does need a water supply. The plucker will be right there. I wanted to have a way to turn off the water to the plucker when it wasn't being used to pluck, because that thing will just squirt water, too much water, and I don't want that. So every time I want to turn off the water supply to the plucker, I just hit the little knob here to turn it off. And so this allows me to have two different water sources, the water to the outdoor sink and the water to the plumber. All's well and good, but we still need to test the thing. Let's try it out. Any explosions over there? No explosions over there. Let's go see if it works, fingers crossed. All right, there doesn't appear to be any leaks in the lines. So these should be off. There should be no water coming out because I have this set to off. Let's see what happens when I turn this on. All right, I guess it worked. Oh man, that went fast. I think there was a little bit of buildup of pressure. My goodness, I don't know if you guys could have seen that, but it just exploded. But it's working fine now. Let's turn it off. Okay, now the other one. I'm gonna ease it on. I'm not just gonna flick it on real quick. All right. There we go. Now let's turn on the faucet. Voila. Running water. Let's turn it off. Yes. Turn it back on. Yes. Turn this thing off. Yes. Turn this off. So the water works. That's good. So we have running water to the barn, plumbing to the barn. It's kind of redneck plumbing, but it's plumbing nonetheless. It's still going to work for us. We have a sink out there with water that works. There's one little thing that I'd like to amend though. So the drain hose, as you can see, just runs right out here. And we're going to be using this sink a lot on slaughter day. So this whole area right here will just turn into a muddy mess. This is kind of downhill. I don't know if you guys can see it. It goes downhill. But it won't be long before all the blood and little bits of guts and stuff that goes through the sink is just going to pile up here into just a mess. We don't want that. Holly said she'd prefer it if the drain line was a little bit further out so that it would really start rolling downhill. So you can't quite tell via video, but as you walk out here, there's a real big slope that kind of takes up right about here. So if we can just push the drain line out just a little bit, all that blood and guts and ephemera that's coming from the sink will start going down into the woods a lot easier. So at first I wasn't quite sure how I'd do it, but then I remembered we had a spare dishwasher hose, dishwasher line, just sitting in the closet, and I think that might do the trick. I'm gonna go scare that up, put it on, and see if that might work. Okay, so here it is. It's the spare dishwasher line. It's either a dishwasher line or a line for a washer, a washing machine. I honestly don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a dishwasher line, but I think it's like 8 feet long. So I'm going to hook it onto the end of here, or attempt to hook it onto the end of here, and see if we can extend our drain line just a little bit further. Okay, that won't work on this end. That has no way. This hard plastic end, there's no way to really clamp this down. It's just kind of floating there, and that would just fall off. So that's no good. What about this side? Take this little collar off. Okay, now that's more promising. That holds on to it pretty well. Oh, but it slips off pretty well too. What if I added this collar to hold it in place. Okay, now that's a lot better. That's staying put. The problem is I've got this collar, this bend here, this U-bend. So I want the collar, but I don't want this bend. Maybe I can cut this bend here so the collar's just like right there. I'm gonna give that a shot. Okay, we've got our little modified plastic collar here to hold on the thing. Let's see if it works. Let me set you guys right here. I think that's gonna do the trick now. Let's see if it'll drain out. I turned on the hose. Let's see if it will work. I'll probably need to hold this down with a rock or something. How far can you go? Much further. Thank you very much. There we are. Let's see what happens. Redneck plumbing with the Modern Yeoman. I think it's a success. So you guys might remember we set up the hoops for those raised beds over there, the raised beds where we're keeping our greens. And we set those hoops up last week with the intention to cover them with frost cloth because we've got frost on the way. Well, two things. They say, the weather prognosticators say that we should potentially get our first frost this very evening. Well, you might remember in the past episode when I set these up, I had run out of frost cloth. Well, as it so happens, I was looking through my closet, and what do I find but this giant wad of unused, clean frost cloth, the Agrabah stuff. So thank my lucky stars, I was able to find it. I was just going to go to the seed store and buy some, but didn't need to do that because I've got this stuff. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to throw some bricks down to hold it in place. Hopefully we have enough to cover 3 beds. And then I'd like to talk to you guys a little bit about the epiphany I came to this morning as I was hawking up a lung, coughing, sniffly. An epiphany I came to this morning about something that a lot of the homesteading books and YouTube channels and blogs and stuff doesn't really talk about. Maybe some folks talk about it, but I don't remember hearing this when I was just getting into the journey. And I thought I'd impart this epiphany to those of you that are still hanging on in this video and watching about what I've learned. And it's something that can be tough to deal with, but it's also one of the joys of this lifestyle as well. Not easy.
You're gonna try to double it up? Or?
Nope. All I need to do.
Some from my fire ring over there if you need more.
I need just some placeholders while I get these things. Next bed. So as you can see over there, we did not have enough room for the 3rd bed. We wanted to cover these 3 beds. We're only able to cover 2 with the cloth that we had remaining, the Agrabah, which that's okay because I'll let you guys in on a little secret. This bed right here, we call it the cursed bed because it never grows things well. It never has. These beds are doing wonderfully. That one is the same. It's a similar story. Those do great, but for whatever reason, this bed has just had a heck of a time doing well. So if it frosts tonight and the stuff that's that's kind of struggling there doesn't make it, we may just chalk that up as a loss until we are able to get some agribon and put some more greens in here in the next few weeks and see if we can reverse the curse of the cursed bed. But our two main producing green beds, we've got them covered up. They'll be good if we do get any frost. And in the meantime, I gotta check on my sweet potatoes, guys. I haven't even checked them recently. We've just been letting them grow. Look how thick this is. They have been happy in this bed, that's for sure. Oh boy, look. I think that counts, right? What about this one? Oh my gosh, look at this thing. Wow. Okay, our sweet potatoes are doing good. We need to harvest these guys pronto. Maybe this weekend we'll harvest them because they are looking spectacular. My goodness, look at this thing. Do I win like a 4-H award for this or something? What else we got down here? Good night. Look at this, guys. This is like a pumpkin, not a sweet potato. Goodness gracious. All right, we definitely have to harvest these ASAP because they are bumping. They're doing very well. What do you think, Dad?
I think that's incredible. You talk about a harvest. It's like the size of a coconut.
It really is. So that was just one spot, me digging like right there. Just one spot. I just kept digging and pulling these monsters out. Yeah. So the thing we need to research at this point is storage, and if we're okay just keeping them in the ground.
Or in your parents' house. I mean...
Do you want some? Do you like sweet potatoes, Dad?
I love sweet potatoes. You kidding me?
Yeah.
Air fryer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of ways.
Well, I got a football-sized sweet potato here. My goodness, this thing is huge. Awesome. Well, apparently we can grow sweet potatoes. Wowzers. Well, it's good to know that sweet potatoes grow so well in this soil. A lot better, I think, than the potatoes did. Just the straight-up normal Idaho potatoes. The sweet potatoes just were banging. I kept looking through, browsing through these leaves. I was seeing them everywhere. I looked. I mean, I could just go in there and harvest tons of it. So this evening, we're going to research how to store sweet potatoes and whether or not we can keep them in the ground for a little while longer. Obviously, we don't want them to go bad. But boy, oh boy, you want to talk about calories in the ground? Sweet potatoes is it. That was quite a pleasant surprise. But anyways, I did want to chat with you guys real quick about the epiphany I had. The thing that a lot of people kind of neglect to mention when they're talking about homesteading. And like I said, I'm sure some people have talked about it before, but if you're new to homesteading or thinking about homesteading, one thing you should keep in mind before you make the leap is that there are no sick days here. When you're feeling bad, when you're sick, when you're out of sorts, the chickens don't care. The garden doesn't care. The things that you take care of, they don't care. Now listen, that can apply to a lot of different situations in life. You know, if you're a parent, you don't really get a sick day. You got to always take care of your kids. But there's a unique thing that happens when you're taking care of animals, especially, and to a lesser degree, something like a garden, where there's quite a bit of maintenance involved. And that is, you cannot stop watering your animals. You cannot stop feeding your animals. You cannot stop moving your animals. In the case of meat chickens, you can't even take a day off. You can get like a farm sitter or somebody to help out, but that's not as easy as you might think. For us, like, I'm really the only person that knows how to work the meat chicken tractor and to move it. My dad could probably help there. Holly could probably help there, but by and large, that's my thing that I do. Same with feeding the whole flock of chickens. We have 53 chickens on the homestead, and doing all the chores and knowing all the little nuances every single day. That's something that's up to me. So when I woke up this morning and I wasn't feeling that well, doesn't matter. I still got to go out there and do that. And that's something that you need to keep in mind, especially before you get a lot of animals, is that you can't really take a day off. And the idea of something like vacation or getting away from the homestead, you have to make amply sure that whoever's watching the homestead for you knows exactly what to do in a bunch of crazy situations. When you're dealing with animals, things can happen, things can go wrong, they can get loose. So you have the way that you work with them, you have the way that you chase them down when they escape, but will the person that's watching your homestead or your farm know how to do all that stuff, know where the particular switch is for the electric thing, for the fence, all of that stuff? That's something to keep in mind. When you're feeling bad and you feel like sleeping in, you can't. You got to get up and you got to take care of those animals. They still need to be watered. They still need to be fed. It's something to think about. Now, is this a bad thing? I actually don't think it is. Honestly, I think it's kind of a beautiful thing, really. I love routine. I love the idea of routine. Whenever I'm anxious or slightly depressed, nothing squelches that anxiety or depression quite like getting back into a routine. Some people are wired for this. I'm one of those people that are wired for routine. I love it. So the idea of having to be there, rain or shine, in sickness and in health, for those animals every single morning, every single night, is something that I personally find kind of cool, something that I personally like and enjoy. So if there's one thing that I don't think is stressed very often when people are talking about getting into this life, that's what it is. You've got to be there no matter what. There are no sick days. Anyways, take that for what it's worth. It's just a thought I had that came to me this morning as I woke up and I didn't feel well. Until we see you guys on Sunday, remember, as always, slowly, slowly.